The offense has been one of the best in the nation. The Tide leads the nation in scoring, averaging over 47 points per game. As great as the offense has been, the defense has been the story as of late. And to talk about the Alabama defense, we're joined by former Crimson Tide and NFL great Roman Harper, who is currently an analyst with the SEC Network. Roman, it's great to have you join us once again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me as always.
Well, Roman, the Alabama defense showed up in the second half of the Georgia game and has looked very good since then. Alabama shut out Georgia in that second half, held Tennessee to just 17 points, and shut out a Mike Leach team for the first time. What has changed for the Alabama defense since the game against Ole Miss?
I think just a better understanding of what they're trying to get accomplished on each play. I think if you know what you're doing or what we're trying, where we want them to go with the ball, it's easier to defend. I think they're doing a better understanding of that. And also the guys are tackling better. They're making more plays on the ball. The defensive line, instead, they're not always getting pressure, but they're collapsing the pocket. They're getting their hands up so you get more tip balls, more affecting the quarterback in other ways that you know, without just putting them on the ground. Also, I think the secondaries continue to improve. I know we always, you know, the linebacker play has been pretty consistent between Christian Harris and Dylan Moses, but the other guys around them are starting to pick it up. And for me, what I've seen the most growth is in those areas right there.
Now, when we preview the defense before the season, one of the big questions that you and I talked about was the secondary. Who is going to fill the void at safety? What have you seen from this secondary and how they've improved throughout since the game one of the season?
Well, I think as collectively they've done okay. They've done better at points. I think the corners are still really good. Malachi Moore has been a really, really pleasant surprise to see that. Look, anytime you play that nickel or star position in a Nick Saban defense, you got to be a really smart player. He's got to trust you. You got to understand what goes on. It's a lot of thinking and communication that goes on. And I think for a true freshman, he's done outstanding. He's been making some big plays. He had an interception against Georgia. He forced a fumble against Tennessee that really swung that game wide open to start the second half. That, to me, was another big play that helped win this game. And just when you're making plays as a young man, sometimes you don't know when you mess up. You're just playing. And sometimes that's when you're at your best, when you're not thinking, you're just going. Now, specifically to the safety position, I still think that they need to improve in some areas. They still have not tackled like I would like to. That's part of your job description as a safety. And you have to be able to minimize the mistakes of other players.
I know, Roman, back to the offense. How impressed are you with the way they're putting up points and just really being balanced on both sides of the ball with Najee Harris and the passing game? And how about Mac Jones? He's really shown a lot of ability in the leadership and the way he's directed this offense.
Hats off to Mac Jones. He was the one question mark I had going to the season. And not on a disrespectful thing. It was just that, all right, well, how is he going to do it full time? It's yours now. You're no longer sharing it. You're no longer the quarterback that came in for Tua. Now, Mac, this is your team. And he has been outstanding. He has gone out there. He's completed deep balls at a highest rate of anybody's ever seen. He's very accurate. This offense looks different. Last year, it was a lot more RPO style with Tua because he threw such a beautiful slant route. This year, they're building route concepts on top of concepts to really allow Mac Jones to be able to read, diagnose, go downfield with some throws. Sarkisian's done a really good job of mixing in the run and the pass. And I love that Alabama has not said, all right, well, we're just a great offensive line. We just want to run right at people. No, they're doing a lot more zone schemes. They're doing a lot more stretches. They're doing outside zone. They're doing inside trap zone. They're doing a lot of things that really mix it up, that makes it hard to defend for as an offense as a whole. They're mixing up personnel. So now they're using 2 tight end sets. They're not just using 3 wide receivers. They're not just spreading you out all over the place. And so they're able to still be physical, but yet they can still be explosive.
Now, before you go, Roman, next week is a big one. It's not going to be the matchup of the century, but it's still going to be a big one. What are your thoughts on next week's matchup with LSU?
Well, it's going to be LSU, Alabama. You know, that's enough said, and, you know, that's a thing within itself, right? And it's in Baton Rouge. That is a very key to this whole thing. They will have fans. It will be rowdy. How does Ed Odron get that defense all together, that team all together, and be able to buy back in to be able to help these guys out, to be able to put on a great performance? We all know when you go against Alabama, LSU is going to have their best game for Alabama, the same way Alabama is going to have their best game for LSU. So it's going to be a knockout, drag out like always. The score may get away from each other late or whatever that may be, but this game is still going to be hard fought against 2 really, really talented teams with a whole bunch of really young, talented players on both rosters.
I'm looking forward to it, Roman. Thank you for your time. It's always great to visit with you. Roll Tide.
Hey, roll Tide. Thanks, guys.
The Tide has the week off and will return to action next Saturday against LSU in Baton Rouge. Kickoff is scheduled for 5 o'clock on CBS. Reporting from the Crimson Tide Production Studio inside Bryant-Denny Stadium, I'm Christopher England with Tide TV.